All right, so I believe in the future, millionaires are not going to be made the way they are made today. I think we're coming to a period of time where a lot of things are kind of being overdone, and because it's being overdone, it's being undervalued. And I'm not saying it's being undervalued unfairly. I think it's being undervalued correctly. I think most things nowadays don't have the same amount of value. So what do I mean by this? If you kind of go out, you can see tons of fitness influencers online saying the exact same things, not giving much useful, unique insights. They're saying the exact same things that you can find in any book, in any library, or any Barnes & Nobles, or any Borders, or whatever. You can go online and see many finance gurus talk about the exact same general principles of investing or trading stocks or whatever. For every Robert Kiyosaki out there, there's a Dave Ramsey, there's a Ramit Sethi, there's a Graham Stephan. There's someone out there that says more or less the exact same thing in a slightly different way. The information itself isn't unique. The information itself is not new. It's not very insightful, but it is coming from a different person. Same thing applies with relationships. You can see so many people online, and there are lots of people online that give their own 2 cents about relationships. You have people, say, for example, in the red pill space, they give their own perspectives on how relationships should work. There are different women out there that have their own perspectives on how relationships should work. There are different coaches and marriage experts that give their 2 cents on how relationships should work. There are even lawyers nowadays, divorce lawyers, jumping into the game to give their perspectives on how relationships should work. The reason why I'm saying all this is because we are now at a point where information is saturated. And information, to a degree, has been saturated for a while. Information has been relatively abundant for a while. Libraries, of course, did exist. Books were plentiful. But I think the difference between then and now is that the barrier of entry to gaining knowledge or insights at that time, in the past, maybe say a few decades ago even, was that you had to actually put an effort to get the information. You had to actually go to the library, get a library card, sift through several books to get maybe a few pieces of insightful information. I think nowadays that's not really the case. Nowadays you can just go on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, and there's someone out there that's telling you how you should think about A, B, C, and D. There's someone out there giving their 2 cents, and for a lot of people, they just listen to it blindly. And that's arguably not the worst thing in life. That's not terrible. But I think because of this, information in itself is no longer becoming valuable, just because, like I said, it's becoming so abundant, it's no longer scarce. And I think there's a certain link between how valuable something is and, to a degree, how scarce it is. This is not always the case, but for the most part, there's a link between value and scarcity. Now, I've said this a few years ago. I think in the future, what's gonna really differentiate most people, most businesses, is branding. And when I say branding, I mean personal branding. And I'm beginning to think that this is gonna be accelerated, and it's gonna be a lot more important as AI becomes more prevalent, as AI becomes more popular, as more people start to understand what AI is and use it for their own advantages. I think the ability to brand yourself as an individual more effectively is gonna be the thing that separates a good business, a business that thrives, a business that succeeds, from a business that just fails, or from a business that does not get any attention, or has no followers, or has no fans, or cannot sell at all. Part of what makes me, and I said this years ago, I think the first time I kind of thought about this idea was a few years ago. For anyone watching, you might be familiar with this entrepreneur named Gary Vaynerchuk, very popular entrepreneur, says more or less the exact same thing in all of his videos, which is completely fine. He's saying exactly what he believes to be true, which I don't disagree with. I think his message, for the most part, is pretty good. It's a good message. Years ago, though, I used to be a huge fan of Gary Vee. Not so much as anymore. I don't consume content as much as I used to back then. More or less nowadays, I'm just trying to put things into practice and kind of experiment with things in life. But at the time, several years ago, I think it was like during 2019 or 2020, I never knew exactly what he did. I knew he was an entrepreneur. I knew he had a company, but I had no idea what the company was. I had no idea what the company sold. I had no idea how long the company was even around. I had no idea who his clients were. I knew nothing about his actual business. And for me, that didn't really matter. I liked his message. One day, he came out with, I don't know exactly what it's called. I think it was Empathy Wines. He was selling wine pretty much. And I believe it was like a subscription wine service. You order his wine, and I could be completely wrong in the model, but I believed if I recall correctly, you would order his wine, and like every month or so, he would send you a brand new bottle of wine, and it had like an inspirational message on it. Doesn't matter. I almost bought the wine, and I don't really drink wine. I drink it occasionally, but I don't drink wine that much. And I thought to myself, why am I willing to buy his wine? I don't even drink wine. Part of me was gonna buy it just to see how the packaging was and then give it to somebody as a gift. But why? What exactly is it that allowed Gary Vaynerchuk to pretty much sell me wine that I don't drink, that I don't care about, and that I'm not really all that keen to try out. Because I didn't really care about like the actual wine itself. Like I said, I was gonna give it as a gift. I just kind of wanted to see it. And then it hit me. It was personal branding. He was a brand, and because he was a brand, and there was kind of more components to him being a brand that I'll get into in a second, but because he was a brand, I was more willing to just buy directly from him. Now, I don't want to get into like all the different costs. I will a little bit shortly, but when you think about it, being a brand that can sell something is far more cost effective than being a company, manufacture something, market via ads, commercials, campaigns, etc., then sell it to you and maybe get a small percentage of whatever it is they sell. If you're a personal brand, you as a brand could just say, I have this product. If you're interested, go buy it. And if you have people that are fans of you or people that follow you, they might just buy it with no marketing dollars, not much time out of your part, not many campaigns that need to be that well thought out. Hopefully you get the point that I'm trying to make. And so that hit me. In the future, the most successful people are going to be brands. And I think the reason why brands are going to be so effective is because, this is just my theory, when you sell things, the way to sell things is, for one, people to know who you are. This is what advertising is all about. It's people knowing what you are, or what the product is, etc. So people know who you are. People like you. People have to like you enough to be willing to buy things from you. And they can only like you once they know who you are. So they know you, then they like you, and they have to trust you as well. And that's part of liking too. Usually if you like someone, you probably also trust them. Once they know, like, and trust you, then they're willing to buy from you. And they're willing to just buy things from you, from what I have seen, regardless of how effective it is, regardless of how much it actually fits their needs. And I'm not saying to scam people. I want to make this clear. I'm not saying to do this to scam people. But what I am saying is that when you have a personal brand, it's easier to just sell things in general without much effort and without much cost up front. Now, building the brand, I think, is the difficult part. And I think building the brand is what takes a long period of time, more than likely. But I think the payoff is exponentially high. You can be Dwayne Johnson, have a good personal brand, sell tequila, sell wrestling, sell movies, sell fitness gear, maybe even sell supplements. And people will buy all of those things because you're Dwayne Johnson. And that's really it. You don't have to know much about Dwayne Johnson's life. You don't have to know if he's a good guy or bad guy. You don't have to know his politics. You don't have to know much about him outside of a few details that make you know, like, and trust him. Outside of that, you don't have to know much about him, and that's good. But that personal brand alone allows someone like Dwayne Johnson to be essentially a billionaire. Does that make sense? Now, he's just one example. I'm sure if you sit there and think about different people that you personally like, different celebrities, different influencers, etc., you might be able to come up with a good list of people that you either have bought from or you're willing to buy from solely because they are a personal brand. Now, one of the reasons why I'm making this video is because I don't think many people have so caught on to the idea that personal brands are going to be the next big thing. And again, this is just my prediction. No one knows for sure what the next big thing will be, but this is just my prediction that personal branding will be the thing that helps people get to the very next level. I say this because right here next to me, I have supplements. Now, these are not my supplements. I did not make these. I do not own these. You can't really see, the lighting is like really bright. Maybe I'll turn it down when I'm editing. But yeah. These are supplements from a company called Prozis. Like I said, it's really bright, so my apologies for this, but these are supplements from a company called Prozis. You can actually see the company on the top of this weight reduction thing. By the way, me using my personal branding to my advantage. If you ever want to buy any of this, there's going to be a link in the description. You'll get a discount, and you can buy any of these supplements or more from their store. I say this all because I invested time into trying to build my personal brand. And over the years, I've built, I think I have about 8,000 people on Instagram. I actually deleted people intentionally off of Instagram, and I kind of stopped. Side note, the reason why I did it is because I had heard that if you have a lot of followers, but a lot of the followers don't engage with you, the algorithm does not push your content very far. This is what I've heard, that there's some kind of like algorithm where they take the amount of followers you have relative to the amount of people that interact with you, and that's how they determine how to push your content out. And my content wasn't even pushed out. I can look at my analytics to see that if I made a post, it would go to like 20 people. It was crazy. And I figured, well, if I just delete people and get it down a lot to people that just interact with me, then Instagram will push my content more. To be honest, I got lazy. I don't know if it was even true, because when I would delete people, it didn't seem to be making much of an effect, but you could chalk that up to the number just being so great that I'd have to delete like thousands of people to see any results, and I just wasn't willing to do that. I couldn't find any apps that let me mass unfollow people. Side note, just to put that out there in case you're trying to grow your Instagram. Do I care that much? Not really. I still try to grow it. I still post content. The people that need to see it, I think will see it. The people that want to share it will share it. And I think that's a simpler way of growing, although it's a much slower way. It's not really trying to hack the algorithm, but I don't care that much. But I did build my Instagram to about 8,000 followers. I built my Facebook to about, on my Facebook brand page, like Leviticus Rich, lowercase letters, it's at about, I want to say it's about 8,000-ish, something like that, 8,000, 7,000. It fluctuates because sometimes people unfollow and then sometimes people follow, so it kind of fluctuates, but let's just say about 7,000, keep the number a little bit lower. And then on my main Facebook page, I have about 7,000 people that follow my actual account. I'm sorry, TikTok, I think I have about 500 people. I don't really post on TikTok. I don't use TikTok that much, which is why my number is so low, but I think I have about 500 people on TikTok. And then YouTube, I just made it to about 500 subscribers a few days ago. So in total, what are we talking about? Maybe about 17,000 if I'm doing my quick maths. About 17,000 people that follow me across all of the platforms, not including like things where I blog and stuff like that too. I don't even track those that much. But across the main platforms, about 17,000 people that follow me because I'm trying to build my brand. And because I've been trying to build my brand, I get, like I said, free stuff like this. Now, they don't pay me. This is, again, I said this is a fitness company called Prozis. They sell fitness gear, supplements, not so much unlike Gymshark or Alpha Elite, you know, more or less in that same thing. You've seen tons of companies nowadays that sell fitness gear, fitness products, apparel, all that stuff. I like the products, by the way. I like the company. Everything's been satisfactory. The shipping's fast. Just a side note, in case you do want to buy something, I highly recommend it. I know I am sponsored by them, so I have a shirt too, actually. I just realized I'm wearing a shirt of theirs. I'm sponsored, so just a side note, I'm biased, but I try, and I'm going to get into this in a second about what I think goes into building a good personal brand. I'm going to kind of get ahead of myself, but I think what I try to do is be transparent. And if I don't like something, I'll just say I don't like it. If it means me losing money, or if it means me not getting paid, or if it means brands not liking me, I'll still say it. And I think that's the beauty of personal branding. And that's why I think you should personal brand yourself. Again, like I said, one, it's a way to make money easier. And I think getting free stuff is also a version of making money. If people, say for example, paid for you to live in a house and you didn't have to pay a mortgage, you didn't have to pay rent, whatever. Or someone gave you a car, you didn't have to pay for the gas, or you didn't have to pay for a car note or taxes. That's like getting paid, essentially. It's like a stipend, if that makes sense. It's the same thing to me. So that's the value of personal branding. It lets other businesses essentially use you for advertising at a cheaper rate to them and at a massive benefit to you, because they either give you free stuff or they pay you directly and they make profit. It's, you know, I'll get into some of the math too in just a second. But I kind of wanted to put that out there. I think most people nowadays should be personal branding. And like I said, I made a video about this years ago, but I still think it's more true now than ever, because I think there are some people that kind of realize how powerful personal branding is. And because of this, once they start to really like monetize their brands like crazy, people will hop on the bandwagon. And then once people hop on the bandwagon, personal branding will no longer be as effective. I'm not saying that personal brands won't exist. I'm not saying that personal brands won't be effective at all, but I am saying that personal branding is only effective when there's a few people in the pool, so to speak. Does that make sense? Like, it's good to, you're kind of a big fish in a small pond at this point if you jump in early. I think by the time most people try to do personal branding, it's gonna be too late. It's not really gonna matter too much. Everyone's gonna try to be their own celebrity or their own influencer, and then no one will be an influencer and no one will be a celebrity at that point, because, you know, everyone's too busy trying to market themselves, and there's no profit for the companies at that point if no one's trying to be a consumer and if everyone's trying to be a producer. Now, in the grand scheme of things, will everyone be a producer? No, that's not how human nature is. There's always people who are just too lazy or lack ambition to be producers. But the point that I'm making is that there will be a large number of people that will try to be producers, and then once that happens, this will no longer be that lucrative. If you jumped in early, sure, it could still be lucrative, but if you jump in too late, I don't think it'll be as effective. You'll have to pivot and find something new. Part of the reason why I'm saying this is because I've been seeing this trend with AI, where AI is not being used for what's a good way to put this? AI is not being used to build any genuine value. It's being used to make money quickly. I'm sure at this point you've seen different YouTube videos where they're faceless YouTube videos. It's an automated voice, and what they're doing is they're taking information from other articles, or they're taking information from other YouTubers or from someplace else and just repackaging the exact same information as their own to make money. Can this be effective sometimes? Sure. But what most people are really doing is they're really just trying to repackage old information. They're not innovating. They're taking old information and they're giving it back to you as a consumer with no added value. There's no benefit to doing this, solely so they can make money quicker with less effort. Do I understand that that's a strategy? Sure. Do I think that's the worst thing in the world? No, not really. But do I think it's inauthentic and disingenuous? Absolutely. And do I think that it benefits people in the grand scheme of things? No, it does not benefit people. Society benefits when people are willing to make innovations. And you can't really innovate unless you're willing to take a risk and step outside the box and try things that are new. But you can't try things that are new if your only goal is to make money by taking old things and repackaging it as if it's new. Does that make sense? It'd be like if I took one of Arnold's old fitness programs and instead of like putting my own twist on it or adding my own insights, maybe saying that some things that he did were incorrect and fixing them, it'd be just me taking his old thing and just saying, hey, this is Lenny's fitness product. Nothing changed, it's just Lenny's. Even though I have not done what he did, I can't speak from his experience. I've never done the training routine myself. It's just me taking what he created and giving it to you for the sake of profit because I know that what he sold did sell back in the past. Does that make sense? And I think in the grand scheme of things, society's not better off that way. Society's actually in a decline from people doing that. So I think AI is going to make a lot of people cautious. I've even seen with YouTube, now you have to kind of click a button that says that you're using AI, or say use a button that says that you're using someone else's voice for your own marketing purposes or whatever. And a lot of tools nowadays are trying to crack down on uncovering what is AI and what's actually a real person. I think there's gonna be a big problem with AI in the future. And I think this is why personal branding is gonna be a lot more effective for most people. Now, I do want to talk about this for a second, just kind of like the financials of this. And I know for some people this might be boring. If it is, you can skip ahead a little bit. I'll try to put like a timestamp somewhere to show you where you can skip to. But when it comes to the prices and when it comes to the economic value of a personal brand, this is the way I think about it. And I could be completely off on the math. This is me kind of doing like a general estimate of things. But let's just say, for example, Prozis every month sends me a bunch of products. They send me a container of, it's like a box of products. And usually the products would be about $100 if you were to buy them. For me, it's free. Shipping's free, the products are free, everything's free. Because what they want me to do is they want me to talk about their products and essentially advertise on their behalf with the hopes that they get someone to buy the products. Now, when you think about this, just from like a pure manufacturer and shipping and everything standpoint, this is a good deal for both of us, for Prozis and for myself. I get free products every single month that I don't have to pay for, and all I have to do is a few times per month mention the products. It could be like what I'm doing right now in a YouTube video. It could be me making like a picture of, say, this popcorn and saying like, oh, this popcorn's so delicious, you guys should try it out. Here's a link right here where you can click it, you can get a discount, and you can buy it. That's totally fine because that took me like 10 seconds to do. I just did it on camera right now. You saw it. I put this up. It takes me all 10 seconds to do. So the time value to me is actually quite great. Plus I get to enjoy the supplement, which benefits me in my life. If it's a good supplement, I get to improve my fitness in this situation because it's fitness supplements. But you can do this with any company. Prozis, even though they charge their customers, say $100 for all this stuff, realistically speaking, every company is trying to get a profit. Now, in order for you to get a profit, you have to be able to acquire certain products at a cheaper cost than you sell it. So if they're selling me, hypothetically, these products for $100, the total cost for them to acquire it all and manufacture it and everything costs probably like $20, $30. And they sell it to someone for $100, they make a $70 profit. And they do this on repeat because as they get more customers, the number increases. Hopefully you understand that. I'm trying to go a little bit fast. It costs them, hypothetically speaking, I don't know exactly how much it costs them, but let's say it costs them $50 a month for someone like me to advertise their products. The reason why this is so good is because if you've ever had a business, if you've ever tried to advertise, advertising gets expensive very fast. Put up one Facebook ad. I have a Facebook ad running, or I had a Facebook ad running. I'm trying to tweak it now, but I had a Facebook ad running for, I think, about 2 weeks. And per day, just to show the ad, it was costing me about like 30 to 50 bucks, which is why I'm trying to tweak it, because that's a lot of money for just one ad. And that was one ad. I had more ads out, but that was one ad cost me about $30 to $50 per day. Now, like I said, this big company, it cost them $50 per month for me to show this. Now, here's why I think this is so beneficial to everybody. Assume that I can get one person, just one person from all of my followers, just one person, to buy, let's say for example this. Let's say this was 30 bucks. They buy this. They like the product. Chances are, and part of me wants to get into like acronyms like lifetime value of a customer and things like that, but I feel like that might be a little bit too complicated and not really, I don't want to get too much on a tangent. But if someone buys this for 30 bucks, they haven't broken even, but they've come close. And the reason why coming close is still good is because over the course of a year, they pay me essentially 50 bucks per year, paying me. You buy this once for 30 bucks, you're probably gonna buy something else. They're gonna upsell you at some point because now you're gonna join their email list. They're gonna upsell you. And eventually you're not gonna buy just this. You're gonna buy maybe a shirt for 35 bucks. Okay, so that increased now your total spend to 70 bucks. And then if you like their product, you might buy more shirts in a few months. Maybe you buy your girlfriend some shirts or your boyfriend some shirts. Maybe you buy some more supplements. Maybe you decide, oh, that protein that Lenny keeps putting up looks pretty good. Let me get a protein, thing. Like my girlfriend actually, when I was ordering this month's supplies, she was like, get the popcorn. I love the popcorn. Popcorn's so good. So we got 2 of these. Now, if she were a customer, if she weren't able to like get it free through me, she'd have to buy the popcorn. I think each popcorn's like 10 bucks, 15 bucks. That's 30 bucks she would have dropped for popcorn. And if she goes through them in say like a week, that's 30 bucks a week. What, 120 bucks per month? Now at this point, from just one product, Process has made profit because they pay me 50 bucks. Hypothetically, it could be less. It probably is less actually. She spent 120 bucks. And she's gonna do this consistently until she gets sick of the products, which she hopefully won't if the product's good. Or chances are she'll actually just keep buying more stuff. It's kind of like when you go to, I don't know, any store, like Under Armour, and you buy like one pair of leggings from Under Armour. For anyone that's into Under Armour, you probably know what I mean. You buy like one pair of leggings or a compression shirt or tank top, whatever. You probably don't just buy one forever. You probably go back and say, well, that one tank top was actually pretty good. Let me get like 2 more. Actually, those shoes look pretty good too. Let me get some sneakers while I'm at it. A few months go by, let me get like some lifting gear. Let me get like some lifting straps. Let me get some supplements too that over here. Does that make sense? Hopefully you understand the point. You start buying more things. And now that 50 bucks per month that might not have worked out initially for the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe the first even year, eventually does become profitable. So it's good for everybody. And this is why personal branding is so good. This is why you should get into personal branding sooner than later. Now, I talked a lot about personal branding. I talked a lot about what the benefits are to the company, to the individual, to society as a whole. And side note, reason why I think personal branding is also good for society is because with AI, you're not creating anything new. With personal branding, it's someone giving their insights. Hopefully they're being honest. They're giving their 2 cents though, and their insights on a product that a company that hopefully is innovating has created. Does that make sense? It'd be like if a new book came out and you as the author made this book, you put a lot of effort into this book, it's a brand new book, you didn't steal it, and you pass it on to 10 people, and the 10 people read it and they say, this is actually a good book. And from this book, I perceive it as A, B, and C. I got these lessons from it, or I got this experience from it, or I think this, and this about it. And they share it with other people, so more people buy the book. That's better for society because at least you're entertaining people, at least you're giving them new insights, at least you're helping people think about something, rather than you just taking what's already been created and just passing it out as if it's new. Everyone's like, oh, I've already seen this book. I'm sure you understand what I mean by this. If you've seen most movies nowadays, most movies are just remakes of old movies. And so it feels empty because they're old movies. They've been made before. You don't need to watch The Lion King 15 times in 15 different formats to understand it's the exact same fucking story to The Lion King. Whether it's animated, whether it's live action, whether it's anime, whether it's a comic book, it's still the exact same story. Now, unless they add something new to the story, it's just Lion King. The medium's not important. The story is what's important. So you can extrapolate that to a bigger lesson with products and companies and everything else. Now, What are my thoughts on how you should build a personal brand? Now, like I said, I'm still in the journey of trying to build a personal brand myself. I'm no expert. I'm just trying to figure things out, but I'm gonna share with you what I think has helped me and what I think will help more people down the line. Number one thing that I think, and I say number one thing, there's kind of two things, but they kind of both combine together, and you can kind of just consider it one big giant concept. But the first thing I want to mention when it comes to building a personal brand is authenticity. I think authenticity is the thing that helps most people build a good personal brand. And when I say authenticity, what I mean by this is your ability to share things about yourself that only you know and that only you have experienced. In business and in marketing, there's this concept called UVP, unique value proposition. And there's other acronyms for the exact same thing, but UVP is one way of saying it. And pretty much it's, as a business or as a company or whatever, what do you bring to the table that the marketplace doesn't already have? Or how do you differentiate your product from every other product? So I'll give an example of this. If you are a car company, car manufacturing company, your UVP when it comes to, say, a Chevy Camaro is that you might have a faster engine, might have a more sleek design, and you might be more fuel efficient. I'm making these up on the spot, but these could be things that are very well in most cars. This probably is true with my car, my Chevy Camaro. Compare that to, say, a Tesla. What is the UVP of a Tesla? A different design. It's not quite the exact same as a sports car, but it can be fast, like a sports car. It doesn't use gasoline, it's electric. That's different. And there's a bit of personal branding because Elon Musk owns Tesla. So you kind of, again, personal branding plays a role here. But these are all things that make it different from other cars. A Chevy Camaro is different than a Tesla. A Tesla is different than a Ferrari. A Ferrari is different than a Honda Civic. You can sit there in your mind and just picture those four cars and you already have an idea of what makes those different. If it's not just the design itself, that's still a UVP. That's still a unique value proposition. It could just be the design, but there's other factors that make it different. Most companies and most businesses, in my personal opinion, need to have this to compete in a marketplace. Obviously, if you make a carbon copy of another company's product, then the only thing you can really bring to the table is maybe a lower price, which in the grand scheme of things isn't the best thing to bring to the table, in my personal opinion, because at some point, if you're always competing on price, it's a race to the bottom. Like if it costs you $1 to make your product and you sell it for $1, you can't make any money, which means you'll go out of business eventually. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in the next few years, but eventually you will go out of business because you're not making profit, which means you can't keep the company afloat. But with personal branding, the UVP, the unique value proposition, is you. It's you. You are the unique value proposition. And I think people say things like, you're not a unique and gentle snowflake. They took the line from Fight Club, whatever like that. But in the grand scheme of things, you kind of are. Everyone is different. Maybe a lot of people are similar, but there are people that are different. People do go through different experiences. People do have different ways of speaking, for example. People do have different ways of dressing. People have different things that make them unique or interesting. Like, for example, the things that I think make me interesting or unique or just different than most people, I live in Japan. Most people have not even gone to Japan, let alone lived in Japan. I can speak a little bit of Japanese. I learn things relatively fast. That's not really a flex, that's just how I am. I love fitness. I go to the gym pretty often, which for most of America is not the case. Most of America is pretty obese. That makes me a little bit different. There's lots of things you can say. Even my race, African American, a little bit different. It's not a lot. Obviously, there's other people that are African American, but not everyone's African American. So that makes me a little bit different. What other things? The way I got kicked out of college twice is unique. Most people have not had that experience at all. Doing pickup is unique. Most people have not done pickup at all. Pickup is when you go out and try to talk to girls and sleep with them, all that stuff. Most people haven't done that. So it's a unique experience. I love to read. I love writing. I've written several books and I like to read books all the time. That's unique. Most people don't read. Most people can't really write very well. Most people certainly haven't done both of those things. And because I like to do those things, they give me unique experiences. They let me do different things. Being a real estate agent, that's unique. Most people aren't real estate agents. Most people don't understand money that well. Most people couldn't tell you what fractional reserve banking is, but I can. It's unique. Now, I'm saying these things is you watching this probably have a bunch of things that make you unique as well. Even if you don't think they make you unique, If you sat there and really analyzed yourself, you'd probably sit there and realize most people don't have these same experiences in common with you, and most people don't have these same likes as you. And because they don't, this makes you your own UVP. This is something that you can bring to the marketplace, the personal branding marketplace, that other people don't have. So they can't compete with you on you. Does that make sense? Like if you try to copy other people, then it's not gonna work because you're trying to be a carbon copy of someone else that has perfected who they are better than you can emulate it. But if you try to be yourself, no one can outdo you. No one can out-be you. Does that make sense? Like you can't be better than Bruce Lee at being Bruce Lee. You can't be better at being Michael Jordan than Michael Jordan. You can't be better at being LeBron James or Kobe Bryant. I don't know why I'm naming so many athletes. Or Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk. You can't be better at being them than they are because the qualities that make them almost can't be replicated. To be honest, it can't be replicated. Like you see people who try to impersonate Gary Vee, they do his voice. That's an impersonation and that has value in itself, but you can't be Gary Vee. You can't be his age, you can't be his height, you can't have the same face as him, you can't have the same pitch, the same voice as him because he has a very unique voice. Tony Robbins, you can't be as tall as Tony Robbins. You can't have the same life experiences as Tony Robbins. You can't emulate his style. And I'm not saying Tony Robbins has any crazy unique style, but being, what is he, like 7 feet tall? Being like 7 feet tall, wearing like his suits and stuff, you can't do it, so you can't be him. So hopefully you understand that point that I'm making. I know I went on like a long rant with that, but you cannot emulate other people. You can only really perfect being yourself. And I think if you see some of these brands that are super successful, the Hamzas, I'm gonna be cautious saying his name, but let's say he's a bald dude that drives a Bugatti and he just went to prison several times. You know who I'm talking about if you go on YouTube or if you pay attention to life. You probably know what I'm talking about. They're personal brands and they're successful personal brands because they're so unique and they're so interesting and they're so different. Does that make sense? Grant Cardone, he's unique, he's interesting, he's different. And then from that point on, they're able to sell more effectively. And I think the thing that makes them able to sell more effectively is because one, they can give their own anecdotes that are unique to their lives. And I think anecdotes are what helps people buy into you. If you tell a good story about your life, if you tell stories in general, stories are how humans have always communicated. And I think you can't effectively tell a story about why something matters to you unless it genuinely matters to you. I think some people can bullshit. I think some people can lie. Most people can't. I think if you were, for example, being Grant Cardone and explaining why real estate is the tool to get rich, why commercial real estate is the tool to get rich, he can sell that better because he has lived certain experiences that have said to him, that have made him come to the conclusion, commercial real estate is better than residential real estate. Because maybe he tried residential real estate, it didn't work out very well. Then he tried commercial made him millions. I don't know the exact story, but I'm just trying to prove a point. Only you can tell that story though, because it's unique to you. So I think that's the second part of it. Telling stories about your authenticity, telling authentic stories, telling stories about how unique you are as an individual, telling stories that only you can tell. And I bring this up because I read this book a while back. It's called Sell It Like Sirhan. It's a good book. It's not the best book in the world. Some of the concepts are more or less things that have been shared by other people, which is what I kind of said at the beginning of this video. Most information's out there. Most information's not unique. But he did have a concept that I thought was interesting. And what he says in the video is people don't like to be sold. They like shopping with friends. And I thought that was a pretty interesting insight. Because if you think about it, people do love to shop, but people don't like to be sold. People don't mind shopping with friends. People go to the mall. Malls used to be popular when people went outside, but malls are pretty popular. You probably share things you buy with other people, whatever. People don't mind shopping with friends, but selling something directly to people kind of agitates people. If someone, say for example, you really wanted to buy the next gaming console and some guy came up to you and said, hey dude, I got this new gaming console. Do you want it? Here, buy it. Trying to like shove it down your neck. You'd be like, leave me the fuck alone, bro. I don't want it right now. I do kind of want it, but I don't want it like this. I don't want you forcing it on me. I'd rather buy it when I'm free to buy it, when I want to buy it, when it's in my mind, when I saw a cool ad or something that makes me want to buy it. Stop, chill, leave me alone. I'm sure you've felt that feeling before. Personal branding is selling like a friend. That's the way I see it, because it's not pushy. It's not someone going, hey dude, buy my console. Hey dude, buy my book. Hey dude, buy my course. It's more, I got this thing. I'm sharing my experiences, again, stories. I'm sharing my experiences that worked for me. If you want it, here it is. If you don't want it, cool, no big deal. It's a soft sell, and I think the soft sell is a more authentic and a better way to sell than hard selling people. I say this because in my life, I've been hard sold many times, or hard sold many times, and I've bought things from being hard sold. Because some people, when they hard sell, they do make convincing arguments, as they should. That's part of the hard selling. And it is something that you might want, but you feel uneasy because the person's like trying to push it on you, but you also don't want to be rude or disrespectful by like telling them to fuck off. So you eventually do buy it. And some things have worked pretty well. A lot of things have not worked very well. And I've always regretted it. And many times nowadays, if someone hard sells me and I don't like it, I'll refund it and I'll be like, give me my fucking money back. But back then you kind of just like sit with it and you're like, oh, I just lost like $1,000 on this thing. I really didn't want that much, but the guy was like really hard selling me and I couldn't tell him no because I didn't want to be rude or disrespectful. I think that's bad, because I think that leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. I think if too many people try to hard sell all the time, people are going to be turned off from trying new things, which can be beneficial for them as individuals. And I don't think that's a good way to kind of have a society. I don't think I don't think that leads to a good path in society. So that's kind of my two things. Be authentic, share stories, and if you do sell things to people as a friend that's just trying to give them some advice, that's just trying to give them some encouragement or some wisdom, or share something with them that they themselves might want to use. I'll leave with one final thing. And I thought another story, but I think it's a story that might hopefully illustrate this point. The other day, I started watching, I was watching this video. This guy was talking about this Japanese author. His name is Junji Ito. And for anyone that knows me, again, something else that's part of my brand, it's just part of who I am. I love horror stuff. I love horror movies. I like the slashers. Not as much slashers, it's just kind of like creepy, paranormal horror stuff. But I do love horror in general. And Junji Ito is this horror author. He's a manga artist. They call him in Japanese mangaka. And I started like binging. This video kind of said how good he is. So I started binging like his different manga. I started binging the panels. Then Netflix had a series. I started watching the series, binged the entire series. And his stories are amazing. And I'm kind of telling you right now that you should try to watch it or read when you get a chance, because you should. So as I'm watching these, I'm literally going to my friends like on Instagram and saying like, hey dude, you should like go read these comic books, these manga, because they're phenomenal. This is some of the best fiction writing I've seen in a long time. It's not stale. It's not something that AI just ripped from some other story. It's not manufactured. It's good. It's actually good. It's unique. Try it out. This is me selling my friends on something, but they're buying with me. Now, will they actually read it? Who knows? They might not. But me saying to them, I read this thing, I thought it was cool, I thought you might enjoy it, check it out, is more authentic, in my personal opinion, and has a higher chance of them actually being sold into it than if I was just some kind of dude who gets commission from selling comic books and I said, hey dude, buy my comic book, or buy this comic book, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it, I make money, buy it. Does that make sense? So hopefully this video wasn't too long, and hopefully you understood the exact point that I was trying to make. Basically, when it comes down to it, what I think will make millionaires in the future is personal branding. If that's what you want to do, if you want to make a lot of money, I think personal branding is the way to go about it. One last thing too, I know I do this a lot, but one last thing. A lot of people aren't going to do this. There will be a lot of people that will do it, and I think that's where the competition will be. But I do think that in the grand scheme of things, most people aren't going to try to brand themselves, because most people aren't comfortable putting themselves out there. Most people aren't willing to tell stories about themselves in this manner. Now, I know that might sound like a contradiction from what I said earlier. If I said that if you wait too long, it'll be difficult. It's not a contradiction, because it's like me saying being a gym owner nowadays is harder than it was when Arnold Schwarzenegger was first working out. This is true, because when Arnold Schwarzenegger was a bodybuilder, when he first won his Mr. Olympias, the fitness industry wasn't really around. It wasn't really a thing. There were some magazines, there were gyms, but it wasn't a big thing because the culture hadn't really adopted that mindset of working out. Once Arnold got popular, you saw lots of gyms start to open up. You saw lots of people get into the fitness industry. Nowadays, if you go on Instagram or YouTube, you can see millions of fitness influencers or gyms or gym owners or whoever. And then now it's difficult to be a gym owner because you're competing with like every other gym. It's the same exact concept. Does everyone own a gym? No, most people don't even own gyms. Most people don't own businesses, but there are a lot of people that do, and the people that do make it difficult for the people that are willing. Same with branding. Most people don't really have brands nowadays, relatively speaking, but once branding starts to become a more mainstream concept, once more people start to open their eyes to the idea that having a personal brand can offer them many benefits like free stuff, or getting things for, or getting paid to just do basic stuff, getting paid to watch TV, getting paid to go on vacation. I've seen people do that. Getting paid to try their like skinny teas, or getting paid to try supplements, or whatever it is. Once more people realize that you can get paid by doing that, and I think that'll happen sooner than later, especially with the economy being the way it is now, they'll try to jump on it. And then there'll be a lot of people who, even if they're terrible at it, are gonna try to personal brand themselves. And maybe they will get a little bit of attention, but it won't be economically feasible for lots of companies to give everyone money. Hopefully that makes sense. And so at that point, once you get to that point, it's not gonna be as profitable, because if there's some personal brand that has 500 followers, but I can pay them like $5 to do a bunch of stuff because they just want the money, me paying them $5 for a small audience could still make me a better profit than giving you, say, $5,000 with your gigantic audience and probably not making as much return as quickly. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna leave you with. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Let me know if you liked the video. Let me know if this made sense. I'm always happy to get into discussions, answer some questions. And by the way, please, if you watched the video, please leave a like and subscribe if you did actually like the video. I'm trying to get to about 1,000 subscribers, hopefully the next few months, as soon as I can. And I can only do that if you subscribe to the channel. But otherwise, it's been a long video. I will see you in the next one. Peace out, bye.